In today's video, I want to talk about attention. Attention is the original divine currency. That is the way that human beings were designed to exchange with each other. Your attention, and they call it in English, pay attention. They tell you to pay attention because it does come at a cost. And whatever you pay attention to is then fed back into you. It's fed back into your conscious, your subconscious, and as pieces of the divine creator, whatever we focus on, whatever we pay attention to is being fed back to the creator. My belief is that human beings are the creator, God, the creator of all creation, is the way that the creator experiences itself, its own creation. Quickly, if you have created all the universe, every galaxy, every solar system, everything, you don't really know what it's like to be human or Pleiadian or Arcturian. You don't know what it's like. That's why we have ascended masters, Yeshua, Jesus, Muhammad, the Buddha. These were human beings who were aware that the experience they were having and that the knowledge they shared was being fed back directly to God. And then religion came along as a fear cycle and a way to manipulate us into believing that we were separate from God, that we were separate from each other, separate from the Creator. I interchange those words a lot because I was raised as a Christian, and there's a God of the earth, and then there's the creator of all things. So please pardon me as I get used to sharing what I know and I learn to not interchange the words God and creator, because one of my biggest beefs about people is that especially in Christianity, they'll be sharing something really insightful and really beautiful, and they'll start by saying, Jesus, Yeshua, and then, oh, my relationship with Jesus, Yeshua, and, this, and God, this. And they're talking about the same entity. But Jesus never claimed to be God, and Jesus never created a religion. So I think it's really important that we learn to discern and use our word more clearly and more impeccably so that those people who are just beginning to learn and just beginning to accept a higher form of belief and thought can understand that Jesus was not God. You cannot be the son of yourself. So it's very contradictory in its own terms and within its own space. So it's really important to remember that Jesus was a man, son of God, the creator of all things, just like you, just like me, that we are sons, daughters, beings of God, part of life, part of all creation. The attention that you pay is fed back to the Creator because you have a direct connection energetically to that Creator. Just the same as you have a direct connection to me energetically, the same as the tree, the same as the fish, the same as all life on earth. We are connected to each other, and then the earth actually gives us life. The earth, the water, and the sun, the light. The attention you pay is your divine currency, and you only have so much attention in any given day or time period, or even in your life, because we do have to rest sometimes, we do have to sleep, and you have a finite amount of that. So what you choose, right, because we have free will, what you choose to pay attention to dictates your experience in this reality, and it dictates the way that you help the Creator understand life. So if you're trapped in a fear cycle, that you're always worried about money and you only chase money and you only care about money, you're feeding back to the Creator that this is the best of life. This is what life is about. Though the Creator knows better than that, most of us know better than that, but it is a fear cycle and a trap that energetically keeps people in this loop so that they only feed the negative, the darkness, the fear, the lack, the frustration. Even if you choose to, if you watch too much TV, it's coming out more and more about what has been going on in the entertainment industry, we're going to call it, and among our elected officials or political representatives around the world. And so just stay with me that stuff is true. Let's just take it as a fact that it's true. Whether you believe it or not, just roll with me. If it's true, and you're paying all of your attention to that, you are empowering it to continue. That's why the veil has fallen recently, and all of this exposure is happening with all of this kind of stuff, which I'm not going to get into here. If you want to know more about that, share it with friends, take a screenshot, and I guarantee you, your algorithm will start to feed you that like nothing you can imagine, because you're paying attention to that. And maybe you need to be educated about it. Maybe you need to learn about it. And that way you can choose to pay attention to something else. Whatever you pay attention to feeds that thing. So whether it's it's entertainment, whether it's music, that now everything is so auto-tuned, that it's not like before auto-tune when people had to actually be talented, and they may not be the most glamorous or most beautiful, but they were the most talented. Now you just have to be pretty, and they can make anybody sound good enough that if they follow what they're told to do, they'll be famous and rich and whatever. It's a manipulation. It's the same with, I have a TikTok account, but I don't record any videos on TikTok. Even if you record in the app, it's supposed to expose it to more people. You can't record in the app without a filter. You cannot be your authentic, true self without a filter. And for me, it's ridiculous. I am who I am, flaws and all. And if you don't like that and you want to judge based on the way that I look, feel free to do that. That is your prerogative. But I'm not going to set myself up to intentionally deceive people. I might say something that is a mistake or that you don't agree with, but those are my words. That is my belief. That is what I chose, versus intentionally putting a filter over my skin to make it look better or more glowing, or shadows all around my muscles to make my body look different. I don't need to be fake to be accepted by people who only want fake things. So I don't filter photos, I don't filter recordings, I don't even edit these things, and I probably never will, because it's the authenticity that I'm trying to bring through when I take the time out of my life to pay attention to this camera, to pay attention to this computer. My intention behind it is to share, enlighten, and inform. And even if you disagree, you then know I disagree with that. And I'm not going to invite that. I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm not going to feed that to myself or to my God or to my Creator. Some things, there's definitely a balance. And one of those things is sensuality. It's something that I've always had a love-hate relationship with, and that I still sort of struggle with a bit, and that recently I have really broken down my walls to embrace in myself a lot more. That I don't look at explicit materials. I don't look at, certain types of images that are tantalizing to others, and maybe used to be to me as well, because I recognize that my energy feels really low afterward. I notice that when I pay attention to those things, it takes like double the energy out of me that paying attention to, my journal does, for example. I do watch some TV. I watch reruns of shows from my youth, and I just have them on a hard drive. And I'm comfortable with what I'm feeding back to the Creator. I'm comfortable with what my subconscious perceives in them because they're from a time before everything was sort of manipulated. We see a lot of symbology and iconography in music and in design and in all of these things. And, when you pay attention to something, you don't have to be aware of the symbology behind it or the darkness behind it. You're feeding that whether you know it or not. And that's why it's really important to be informed. And, they use some call like conspiracy theories. You don't have to buy into that, but to digest it one or two times, to contemplate it and decide for yourself, that can be enough. And if you believe it a little bit, that's too much to decide, oh, I'm going to go ahead and buy this brand, right? I'm going to go ahead and watch this person, or I'm going to go ahead and listen to this music, or I've been seeing this a lot at concerts lately, that the imagery behind these artists is really, I don't know if I want to say dark or demonic, because darkness is part of being a human on earth, and balancing the darkness in yourself, the yin and yang, is really important. So I don't want to refer to darkness as being bad, because that's the difference on earth between earth and existing in another galaxy or in another planet where they only have light or only have dark. Here we have a choice what we pay attention to and what exists around us. And the more of us that choose to pay attention to the light and to have awareness of what we consume and feed back to our psyche and to the Creator, the more we are able to transform the experience of the whole of humanity, of all life on earth, into something that is more positive for all of us to enjoy and share in. Now, with that said, we have to have the exposure, which is happening now. We have to see what is going on behind the scenes, what we have submitted ourselves to, what we've been accepting, and what we've been paying attention to, so that we can choose to pay attention to the opposite or to something else. And it's really important that you can communicate this, and the people and friends and family, everyone in your life, that you can have an open dialogue about these things. And those people who are unwilling to face it and unwilling to have the dialogue, they are tethering you, as I talked about in another video, they are tethering you to the false reality. They are tethering you to the lower timeline, to the lower frequency, to the lower vibration, to the 3D loops of fear and lack. So I encourage you to remove them from your experience, from your reality. Stop paying so much attention to them. You don't have to get rid of everybody totally, but stop giving them access to your energy and stop accessing theirs, because they will hold you back and they will limit your ability to rise and to meet your highest self and embody your divine purpose. So attention, again, is the divine currency of humans. They call it pay attention because you are paying for whatever you give your attention to. And I just encourage you to have awareness about, any sort of addiction you may have, anything that you are paying too much attention to. I encourage you to, before you do anything, check your energy, see how you feel, then do that thing, take that action, and see how you feel during or afterward. There is one particular subject that I'm going to have to research before I make a video about, and see if it's acceptable for YouTube, because I want to make videos that are digestible and watchable by as many people as possible, by any age group. And there are certain activities and things that we pay attention to that religion has taught us not to do. And then as we sort of abandon the limits of religion, we think, oh, this is okay, I can do this. But actually, there's a bigger reason why you shouldn't be engaging in certain activities, why you shouldn't be watching certain things. I've noticed starting last year, when I had stopped listening to pop music, I stopped watching movies, I stopped watching current TV, that then when I would watch something current again, it would just drain my energy. I felt so lethargic afterward. I wasn't entertained, I wasn't relaxed, I was drained, because what was presented to me as being something positive included graphic violence, or, sort of this subvertive imagery and manipulation of my energy. And I just decided, I don't want anything to do with that. And so I became much more aware, much more careful what I pay my attention to. And I encourage all of you to raise your awareness of what you pay attention to, who you pay attention to, what you watch, what you listen to, and to really understand the meaning, symbolism, and intention behind whoever created that.